Every day I wake up, money's on my mind. How can I get it without committing a crime and doing some time? However I get it, I'ma stay on my grind. I'ma stay committed. Me being broke, you can forget it. It's not gonna happen, cause I ain't with it. I gotta get this money. Hey guys, welcome back to Crypto Pride. Here we go guys, another episode. For this episode, I decided to put together snippets of Plan B from Greek's Live last night because I thought it was very important. And I know it was a 4-hour live, so a lot of people don't have time to watch the 4-hour live. And I just took the most important parts that I thought of, and I put them in the video. So without further ado, here we go guys. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, tonight is Friday. Remember, Friday night live stream at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Hope you guys can tune in and check it out. So without further ado, check out the video, guys.
So can you answer this? What do you guys have planned to educate people that aren't currently in the Vulcan community that will come onto those centralized exchanges later to learn about the power pool and the rebasing and the flex and all that type of stuff? Do you guys have a plan on how to educate new investors?
We've got like a $1.2 million marketing budget that we've already done, and that's gonna flow out. Like usually, like when you look at marketing, especially by smaller people that have less than, like, so you take an example, adapting things like Crew 3, right? So that's just one example alone where people can start to learn about the product. And I think it was Coin, off the top of my head, what was it? Was it Coinbase that you could earn rewards by listening to a video and following the prompts and answering quiz questions and stuff.
It was.
Crew 3 kind of
Coinbase, that's what,
that's right. So there's lots of different avenues we can take place in terms of educating people. You know, you've got the standard banner advertising, and then you've got, and then hopefully then it starts to lead to more organic material, as in people talking about you and what's actually happening. Like people are generally high-end publications are a bit conservative until something happens, you know. So, and also people like to scream about fire. You know, if there's fire, they'll talk about it. If there's look at the news in general. Like, when do you ever hear about the story of a person just walking down the street and had a good day? You know, you don't. It's all about drama and bad news. But the conversations, honestly, probably wouldn't have taken place if we weren't at events like Dubai and Thailand and stuff like that. That really opens up doors to just having the initial conversation. And then there's a lot of smaller exchanges which, you know, they advertise. Like, everyone's got a pitch. Everyone wants to sell you something, right? Because they're a business too at the end of the day. So, but I mean, you just got to look at it. Like, what's the big picture? Where do you want to be? And what's the best route to do it in the most cost-effective route? So it's kind of, it's all of a bit of a balancing act. I mean, the way I look at it is, if we don't get the number one, like the number one on the top, eventually we will. You know, like, it's a given. We might have to take that one step further back and then progress forward, but we're going for the number one. You know, that's what we want. So, but there's a lot of tier one and a lot of tier one exchanges out there. There's even more tier two exchanges out there, and it's just it works both ways, because, you know, something like Vulcan doesn't just come around the corner very often. There's a lot of coins out there, right? There's a lot of standard Shiba sort of styled stuff, but there's nothing that's kind of really pushing the limits in terms of technology. You know, investing, right? There's a pro and a negative, right? Ideally, we would like to have the blockchain running 100% without a vesting period in general. Like, ideally, it would be that successful that you wouldn't even care. But you take on statistics based on previous analysis and see how that's done. And then you have CEXs that literally say, we recommend you do this. You know, based off this is what is going to happen, potentially. Or it could be looked at a more of a line, like, if you want to be listed with us, this would give you a better opportunity to do so. They're not saying that you will or you won't, but they've got to take on board the risk on their business as well. So, I mean, perfect scenario wouldn't be, but at the same time, the way that it's laid out is uniform across the board. It literally affects everybody and everything in terms of people that have been there prior to day one. So it's fair. As much as it would be, like there was conversation before, should we have nodes I think that's just going to cause a ruckus. At the end of the day, it's better to keep everything even and just let it naturally flow out. And the good thing is there's not a huge progression between the numbers, aside from the very last one, the 25%. Everything else is stagnated very smoothly. So it shouldn't cause, there's nothing that you want to do is cause market disruption. You kind of want it to naturally flow. Well, the way that, so you got to understand how the 2.5% works, right? So the way that you've got is that you've got your entire total bag, everything that you've got, and you only visibly, so you'll be able to see it, and then you'll be able to action it. So you'll be only able to action that 2.5%. So a node, it earns revenue the same as an individual would doing flex. So that won't be taken out of the 2.5%. That just gets accumulated onto it because they're doing work at that time. So it doesn't make sense to cap them to only 2.5% when they're doing work to produce something. Somebody chucking in $100, they might not care, but somebody that could be the equivalent of a week's wage for them. So they could care.
That's exactly true. And I like the way it's rolled out now. It's going to really, you won't even feel those jumps up as you're going, and it gives you 12 months. I actually like this better than the 5-month, to be honest. I'm sure once people see it in action, they will too.
I mean, it's not locking people out still acting as they would do in day one. Like if I was to have my wallet that had the vesting and then had another wallet that acted off day one, and I like, it's no different in that way. But like you explained, Greek, everybody here has an upper hand, and they have had an upper hand for a very long time. So much so that we managed the risk that if it kept going until we eventually launch, then, it could topple the whole thing over. So that's where we kind of have to draw the line in the sand and go from there.
So Jason, you don't have anything in the roadmap. Do you have any idea when you will be onboarding full nodes? As far as, do you guys have any type of plan?
Okay, so I think basically once we've fully injected the rebasing and got all that sort of teething issues out, but we want to kind of leave it close to the launch, but not too close to the launch, because at the end of the day, a node still costs money to run, and what's more important is you'll probably find that it'll be ramped up once the KYC process has already taken place and everybody's kind of set up too. There's no point creating a ruckus by having two things going on at once. It's just going to be way too hard. So allow people to be KYC. Some may refuse, and that's the end of their node in their opinion, whatever.
Now, what are you guys going to do if people refuse the KYC? Are you going to take the node or is it just going to be one less node in the network?
It'll probably be one less node in the network, to be fair. I mean, at the end of the day, they sacrifice for it, so it's not ours to kind of take from them per se. I mean, in theory, they could change their mind later in the future and do it. If somebody's worried about a KYC, do you want them to be an integral part of your network?
No.
No.
KYC.
Is there a price?
Yeah. Do we know what the cost would be?
What the cost is going to be? Probably $75 or $100 or something.
We're still in negotiation fully for that, getting that completely ironed out at this time, but we're trying to get it as low as possible. But the way that our partner's doing it with that is quite unique on its own in terms of the NFTs and stuff like that. So there's a bit of legal mumbo jumbo to go through, and we always try and negotiate the best costs, but overall, is it going to be a significant impact for people who shouldn't do it?
And Kim says, is the KYC information kept only in Assured DeFi, or will it be shared with other organizations? Just interested in the process.
I mean, everyone will get the process at the same time, but it's all kept with Assured DeFi. You know, we're still going through the writings of the legal mumbo jumbo terms and conditions junk of when it can be accessed, you know. But put it this way, basically, if there's a bad actor, we want to know who it is. And so we can either A, remove them, or B, legally prosecute them for doing so. That would be between 3 and 4 that, you know, the node stuff would be. And KYCing, I mean, at the end of the day, they're a business. There's still 500 to do. I think it's a 20-minute conversation sort of thing to get it done. So, you know, add the time of that.
Actually, it's not 500. It's 491. It's 491.
Well, that's taking you because you're trying to get half the node bank.
There you go.
I like how he does that, like, flex on it.
Yeah.
491.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Well, a little bit less. But we'll just make you do it 20 times just for safety.
Oh, that would suck. That would suck. Now, what do you do in a situation where, say, 2 people have both invested? Do you make both KYC or just one of those individuals?
I mean, at the end of the day, like when 2 people have invested in a car, is there 1 registered owner or 2 registered owners? Like typically,
you live in.
It depends, yeah.
Well, if there's a
maybe that
depends on who's on the loan and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
if
mean,
there's only going to be one person running the node, and the other person's just kind of.
I like that analogy with the car because it's like on a loan, right? You have a primary and then you have the code, right? The primary, the primary is the one who's going to be responsible if the payments don't come through. Who are they going to come take the car from? Whoever is the person, whoever's credit is going to get hit is the person who's first on that loan. So
Unless you're in a community property state, then you both get hit 50%. Where I live, that's how it works. So it doesn't matter. In the state that I live in, if one spouse decides to be a flake and not pay, like they get divorced and they don't pay, they're both on the hook. The other spouse still is equally responsible. So it just depends on where you live.
That's a dead mind trick.
I think the only way you could, like one person would have to be KYC minimum at the end of the day regardless, but the only way I can see it being people are, like I get privacy and I worked previously before as a fraud and credit analysis analyst, but I see both sides, but at the end of the day, if I'm getting a product or a service, then I'm happy to do it. It doesn't really faze me. But then again, I've got nothing to hide. Like, otherwise I'd be a little black box on the screen. Kind of like Confirming is.
Yeah, that's right here.
Is there any updates with Gamma testnet? And how close are we to really moving forward with the rebasing, or you can't give any of that?
Yes, well, I mean, I would have to speak to the team to find out what's happened since Monday. Now it's Friday, so I'm going to be speaking to them anyway. But from my understanding, they injected the code into it. They've got it to work at one stage pretty much perfectly, except for 2 little bits and pieces. There's some stuff that we have to do in terms of the mathematical side, like if you've heard of fragmentations and stuff like that, and seeing how that works. So unfortunately, it's kind of like how long's a piece of spaghetti before it's cut up and packaged to you. Like the more you look, the more you find other things. But, their confidence is very high in terms of the developers. So we're not particularly worried, but trust me, they get enough pressure from us consistently, Yeah. I mean, it literally depends on what it is. Like, are they working on it's hard because, a lot this is a general guideline of the roadmap of how we see things playing out in terms of coming. But, you know, they can't focus 100% their attention on one thing and miss another thing and then play catch up. And some things rely on others, you know. So the Faucet, we're going to see changes coming in the future in terms of the Faucet. You know, you're going to probably see it get reset and restarted as we implement things. And that's a guarantee. Like the same thing is when we put on rebasing, you know, you're probably going to find the Faucet's going to restart and go from there. So just because we've done it doesn't mean as well that it's an end completed product. It certainly isn't. We're always touching bases across the board. But in terms of, it's like, what can be done now that, you know, you got to look at it like what can literally be done right now that isn't affected by something else, or do you have to work on two things at once? Most of the time you have to work on multiple things at once. You know.
Question from Biz: when can we expect the projects list? Like I know there was Brian's talking about the website where projects can go and list that they're going to be working on Vulcan.
Yeah. I mean, like, it just depends how quality you want it to be. Like, you can get something, but what good is that? What is it going to give you? You know, like, you can get a bunch of stuff, or the way I'm not even thinking about the projects list of what other people are doing per se. And I'm always thinking of skyways and grants and things that like we want to promote that they actively have like a game plan for. So I'm always open ears about all of that sort of stuff. But, you know, I think that is more tied in better with like the hackathon and stuff like that, which we're going to be redoing again on that too. So I think you'll find that all of that stuff will kind of tie in together. So as in a time frame, I can't exactly give it, but I wouldn't imagine that'll be too far away. But I would imagine with testnet coming out, and once rebases get implemented into that testnet, then projects are going to be able to do a lot more compared to little bits and pieces that they. It's pretty exciting though. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. I'm saving up a bag for it, and
yeah. Well, I mean, like, one thing that we've done, which is different than everybody else in terms of from a blockchain level, is shared revenue. Yeah. Now, it would be pretty cool if you could share a little bit of the revenue from PancakeSwap or something like that. That would be pretty cool. Like, I can't see a lot of stuff where anyone's shared any sort of revenue before with like such big things. Imagine just even what's that? I can't think off the top of my head. The NFT platform. What was that?
OpenSea.
OpenSea. Imagine you're getting shared revenue on that.
Oh, that would be cool.
Far out, man.
Insane.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like opening up, like, but yeah, nothing's all finalized yet. I don't know the full 100%. So if I said I knew 100% of it, I'd be lying, because, you know, a lot of the genius behind it